Hi there and welcome to another in our series of the Legends of the West for the Footscray District Football League and the WRFL. I'm Kevin Hilly, with me Steve Tom, and Andrew Gibson, the man who has the goal-kicking medal named after him, is our special guest. Hello, Gibbo. You look as fit as a trout. You look like you could run out tomorrow and kick another 100 goals like you did ad nauseum through the 80s.
Oh, I still look after myself, but I think I'd get one knock and be in bed for a couple of weeks. So I don't know that it'd happen.
Mate, when you look back on your career, specifically we're talking about your time in the Footscray District League, and particularly in the 80s there where you just absolutely dominated. I think there's probably only 2 years there where you didn't kick 100 goals. You look back on that, how do you see it these days when you look back?
Look, I enjoyed the time at the time. Like, I loved playing at Spotswood with a lot of close mates because I played there as a junior most of my time. But you know, I'd probably look back a little bit with some. Why didn't I go to a higher level? I spent a year at Williamstown in the middle of it all, and that was a great experience. But you know, it's no use looking back now, but there's no doubt I probably should have. I spent a year in the VFA when I was 19 and did okay, but for a lot of reasons I ended up back at local level, and which I don't regret doing that, but maybe I regret not going to a higher level earlier.
Yep.
But I did enjoy the experience at Williamstown though.
Yep. Give out the fullbacks back then. They got away with a lot more than what we see these days.
Checking out the dents in the back of the head.
Few scars, yeah. Metropolitan football, even at the top level. But how tough? Not tough were they, but how much more did they get away with than the umpire either didn't see or turned their blind eye? As a full forward, as Kevin just said, you really would have copped a lot of week in, week out being targeted.
Yeah, we're only talking about it with the old timers out in the boardroom there. Look, footy's changed, and for the better. There's no question. It was tough, but
Was it dirty?
Look, it sounds as though it was dirtier in the 70s. I might have. The 80s was still fairly tough, as Steve would know.
Yeah.
But I'd say the 70s was probably, you'd call it dirty.
Yeah.
It was pretty rugged stuff. There was a lot of guys that, you know, I needed to keep my wits about me, playing on and all that. And I sort of knew most of the guys I did play on. Funnily enough, you know, when I would line up, you know, near the square, I'd rather, for want of a better word, a rugged player to come to me rather than a good player.
Okay.
I think I'd kick more goals on the guys that were trying to knock my head off. You know, when they had a bit of both, it was always a bit harder. But the more skillful guys, it was a good game of footy. So it was a rough old time. There's no question.
Mate, one of the beauties of your game, your goal kicking, your accuracy in front of goals, and you're a beautiful kicker of the football. Was it a practice thing? Did it obviously has to come natural to start with, but back then we're talking 20 odd years ago, 20 plus years ago, just the practice needed to go into something like that.
No, I wouldn't say I practiced it over the top. Oddly enough, in the earlier days, like in the under 17s, I kicked almost 100 points.
Okay.
I kicked 130 odd goals, and it wasn't until later, and that's probably what people remember, that I straightened up a bit. Yeah. I never used to spend a lot of time over the footy. And I look now, and they even bring in a rule to speed them up a bit with the guys. But I mean, I straightened up as I got older because I probably got less of the ball, so I had to. But sometimes I remember going back, and I wouldn't spend a second. I'd go back and then start walking in straight away, and you know, that wasn't obviously the way to do it. But everything's got better. But I used to kick reasonably straight.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Did you have a bunny? You know how they talk about Warney having Cullinan and those blokes, but did you have a bloke that you just go, you beauty, come on?
You've asked me this before, Kevin. I'm not gonna. There's a guy. I won't name his name, but he's a tough bloke, and he's done security at the Whitten Oval for a lot of years. But I did kick a lot of goals on him. I won't say his name because I'll run into him in the next year or so.
You might as well say his name. You've just given him an identity.
Well, I have, and
wasn't exactly a chalk outline you gave us there.
He was a ripper bloke, and he still is. But I did have a fair amount of success against him. But it was more, the side he was playing for were big rivals of Spotswood back in the day, so we all got ourselves up for them.
The big bags in the grand finals, are they the ones that remain really special to you?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I played in three losing senior grand finals, and I played in, I think, 3 junior grand finals, certainly 2 since a winning one. So there was 5, including 2 in the juniors, losing ones. So when I got to the next one, it was more important than life itself almost that we won, because I was 26 when I played in my first premiership, but we had a good side then. There's no questions. Spotswood got a really good side together. That was 1984. It was very pleasing to play my part.
Give the honour of having the goal kicking award named in honour of your name in the FDFL Western Region Football League. Must be a big thrill.
Obviously, yeah. I never played footy for accolades like that, but I look back and I sort of enjoyed myself as much as anyone, even off the ground. I never looked at myself as being the big thing. I was just one of the boys. I used to drink as much as anyone else, and I was there till stumps. And in the odd occasion I have a drink these days, I still am. I suppose it's in my DNA. But I just love being with my friends, and I don't get down there very often now. But when I do, it's still almost the same. It's guys standing on the same tables. But I was only down there a couple of weeks ago, which was really good.
Who's some of the guys from that era? I mean, the successful era, the spotty days, the 84s plus.
Look, the best player I played with at Spotswood apart from there's a few guys that come in just for 1 or 2 years, like Lindsay Cale and Kevin Hughes, Grant Smith. But Peter Mildenhall was the best. He played at Spotty from I think 81 till certainly the early 90s. And he was a great player. Paul Udy was a marvellous ruckman, workhorse. In the later days, Murray Cooper and Dave Howe were very good players. But Kevin Hughes was the best player I ever played with, including Williamstown.
Yeah, okay.
But he probably, he ended up playing one AFL game after.
Yeah, he did, didn't he, in North Melbourne?
But he was skillful and tough.
He was tough. He was Hap. He really was a tough little
He helped turn us around. Before those guys got there, we probably had a reputation of being, old Bones out there just to fix us up with the West Footscray boys. They did a couple of times the year before. Tomsy knows about that. So, but 84 we got Greg Ward and Kevin Hughes and Jeff Beeben was captain coach, and no one was going to walk over us once those boys come on board. So that was important. So you have to stick up for yourself.
Things did turn around pretty quick when those guys did come on board down at Spotty. Trust me, position.
Yeah.
You played a hard one.
Yeah, Spotty had maybe a reputation for 2 or 3 years that that you could intimidate us a little bit.
Yep.
But
he's still trying to push that up. He still keeps talking about being mentally soft.
Still so, but they still win premiership after premiership. So
James.
Well,
20 years and he's still creffing on about it.
Spotty's, it's sort of a different area, I should say, than maybe deeper into the west. Spotty's the closest one to the Yarra River sort of thing, apart from Seddon Yarraville, I suppose. But Spotty are probably connected. Williamstown's more of an affluent type of area these days, so that connotation can probably attach itself. But there's plenty of tough boys that come through Spotty.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, you're a legend. We're thankful for spending a bit of time with us and having a chat about your days in the whole Footscray District League. You're a champion.
Pleasure.
Good on you.
Andrew
Andrew Gibson.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching us and look forward to more legends right here on the WRFL website.